folks. This will be the last of the faith-based videos. There's a few things I want to talk about. This mostly is going to be TV shows and a couple of leftovers. And so we'll start with the leftovers since they are right here on the stand. We have Exodus of Gods and Kings, film directed by Ridley Scott. Came out the same time, around the same time that Noah did. I think it was a little bit afterwards. But this one I would classify with Noah. It's not that great. Christian Bale comes off as very psychotic. They change. Now, let me clarify something here. The Ten Commandments is not a perfect movie by any means. Okay? It's not a perfect movie. But we love it so much that we consider it to be a classic and a tradition. I mean, it plays on television every Passover. So, yeah, how are we messing this up? Well, with Exodus of Gods and Kings, they change several things. Now, the Ten Commandments did take from the Bible, whether it's well performed or well acted or whatever, that is yet to be seen. I mean, well, we've all seen it, okay? So we know how it goes. But there was things in the Ten Commandments that was what was in the Bible. This changed that. First of all, God used Moses to deliver the people out of Egypt. How did he do it? Through Moses' staff. Okay? Sorry if I'm getting a little antsy about this, but he used Moses' staff. In this, it's a sword. The Bible says it was in his staff, not a sword. You see it right there on the back cover. A sword. Did Moses kill? Absolutely. He murdered him. He murdered a man. The Bible tells you that. It doesn't tell you really necessarily how he did it, but he murdered somebody. He killed somebody. And Moses was a warrior at some point. But when he learns that he is Jewish, he becomes a shepherd. Before he met God, he became a shepherd. And what shepherds use to walk with, to guide the sheep with, and to use as a weapon is a staff. Big difference between a staff and a sword. And that's just one of the things. There's several other things that's in this film, and I didn't so much mind that God came in the form of a child, because God can come in any form and can reveal himself in any form, whether it's a child or an animal or anything. We will not see God's true form, okay? He will come in the form of something that we will understand. Or that's how he comes. He comes however he wishes to come. So yeah, Exodus of Gods and Kings. Enough of that. Next up is The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. Now this is an independent movie. I just got it, so that's why it's put into these extra. This is actually kind of a romantic comedy in the form of a faith-based film. It's about this guy by the name of Gavin Stone. He was a child actor. He grew up in Hollywood, but he realizes that fame and fortune have an end, really, and that none of it matters. And then he becomes he gets drunk, gets arrested, and is forced to participate in some form of community service. Well, the community service that he has to do is basically scrubbing toilets at this church. And in the meantime, it is Easter time, and the church is putting together their Easter pageant. And with Gavin being an experienced actor, he auditions for the part of Jesus and gets it. And at the same time, he's trying to meet up with the pastor's daughter, who's kind of a bit of a loner, and she's the one directing the play, and he's trying to also develop a relationship with her. And it's kind of funny on how he comes to Christ and at the same time develop this relationship while doing the play, and at the end he surrenders his life to Christ. And it's kind of a romantic comedy. Who's it star? I know it has Shawn Michaels, WWE superstar Shawn Michaels, and we have Brett Dalton. I believe he's from he's from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. D.B. Sweeney plays the pastor, and I forget who's I can't pronounce her name, but her husband's the lead singer of the Christian group, Group One Crew. So yeah, there we go. The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. Kind of a romantic comedy and story about redemption. Now, we'll get into the TV shows here. Now, there is one TV show I do not own on DVD, but it was probably one of the most famous faith-based TV shows. It still airs occasionally, possibly on the Hallmark Channel and networks like that. But it's Touched by an Angel. I do not know if that's even available on DVD or Blu-ray or what the deal is. But it ran for several seasons on CBS. We watched it religiously in our household, but unfortunately I do not have that amongst my collection. I don't know, and like I said, I don't know if it's available on DVD. It may be, and then again, it may be out of print. So, yeah. But then we have, first of all, I'm going to start with TV miniseries. We'll start with the first one we got here. Franco Zeffirelli's Jesus of Nazareth. It was a 4-part miniseries that aired on NBC in the late 1970s. I believe it was 1979 when this aired. Now, 77, I'm sorry. 1977. And it, however, in the UK, it was a theatrical motion picture. But I don't think it was as long as that, but here we have a 4-part, here in the US it aired as a 4-part miniseries on NBC in 1977, and it kept rerunning a few years after that, and occasionally you may see it on TBN or one of the Christian networks when either Easter or Christmas falls. They may play this. It's a 4-part miniseries, and total length is 384 minutes. So, yeah. See, and it's an all-star cast, too. We have Robert Powell as Jesus, Anne Bancroft, Ernest Borgnine, James Ferrantino, James Earl Jones, Stacy Keach, James Mason, Ian McShane, Laurence Olivier, Donald Pleasance, Christopher Plummer, Anthony Quinn, Fernando Rey, Rod Steiger, Peter Ustinov, Michael York, and Olivia Hussey. Yeah, I think that's just as broad as what the greatest story ever told was. But yeah, we got Jesus of Nazareth. And the next up is, the next two actually go together. First of all, we have the Bible, the epic miniseries that aired on the History Channel. And I believe this was, yeah, this was a 10-part miniseries, but they only told selective, it didn't tell the whole Bible, but it told selective stories. Genesis, the creation, the story of Moses, yeah, another adaptation of Moses. Of course, the whole story of Jesus and his ministry. Briefly going into Paul's ministry. Briefly, it didn't stay too long in Paul's ministry. And then the next one, we have A.D., The Bible Continues, also from Roma Downey and Mark Burnett. Now, this is with a different cast. It's not the same cast that starred in the Bible. It's a different cast playing the disciples, but this is the book of Acts, more or less, and it takes place right after Christ resurrected and ascended into heaven, and it goes through the politics, the beginning of the church, and it goes into Paul's ministry and things like that in the book of I don't think it goes so much in the book of Revelation, but it's definitely the story of the first church and how the church started. Now, this one aired on NBC because the Bible was so popular on cable that NBC said, oh, we could do something like that. And so then Roma Downey and Mark Burnett, who they already had a working relationship because Mark Burnett is the producer of The Voice. I don't know if you know that. So he was working with them. And so we get A.D., The Bible Continues. Now I'm going to clear the shelf because we have a couple more. It's not necessarily, I would say, it has to do with the Bible, but it's definitely family-friendly fare. And everybody and their dog has seen this show. What am I talking about? Well, trying to put them all together. Let's do this right. Season 6, Season 5, Season 4, Seasons 3, Season 2, and then Season 1. There we go. Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, I would classify this as very faith and family based because there's good Christian morals that is taught in the show, and it's a timeless show. Not everybody's a fan of this, I know that, but you know, this was really a well done family show. Nothing really, you go through the struggles of this family, and there's a couple of episodes in here that are definitely faith-based. like there's a Christmas episode where it was a Christmas two-part episode in which Laura's daughter was taken by this family who does not have children, and they go. There's a strange boy that wanders into their picture trying to. He's a real small boy. He doesn't have any parents, and so they are in the search of finding their daughter, and then finally they do find her with this family, and they go to take her back, and they don't press charges or anything like that, but the small boy that is in with Laura and Mr. Edwards and Alonzo, he takes off. He disappears. And this man that whose wife took their daughter, and Alonzo and Mr. Edwards, they go out looking for this boy. And then there's a star finding the boy asleep in the barn. And then at the end, they realize that God was showing them something that, and then Laura recites, the book of Luke about the shepherds and the wise men going to seek the Christ child. And then there's also one where there's a child that's very, very sick, and Charles, played by Michael Landon, builds this huge altar to, as a prayer for this child's healing. But yeah, Little House on the Prairie. Now I need to clear the space again. I want to get them. I want to keep them in order. That's why I'm a little. There we go. Now, of course, these are all on Blu-ray, digitally remastered. The only way that you can get these on Blu-ray now is through Amazon. Matter of fact, if up to season 7, 6 or 7, they only they were putting them out on both Blu-ray and DVD, and then they only released the DVD to the retail stores. But if you went on Amazon, they would give you could buy the Blu-rays. Now, since we brought up Little House on the Prairie, and I briefly talked about Touched by an Angel, well, here's the original Angel show, starring Michael Landon as well. Highway to Heaven, which only lasted 5 seasons. They had intentions to continue the show, but something tragic happened, because you also notice that Victor French is also in this show. And while Victor French died mid-season of season 5, because the last season, season 5, is a very, very short season. Victor French had died mid-season in the last year, and Michael Landon said that he could not continue the show without him in it. So, and then a few years later, Michael Landon died. But yeah, this was also a good family-friendly show. With Michael Landon playing the angel. What was his name? Jonathan. Played Jonathan the angel. And Mark was his driver, played by Victor French. Yeah, so there you go. Highway to Heaven. Now that's all of the faith-based material that I have currently. Now there's something I wanted to really talk about. I was poking around last week, right after I shot the video from last week, about what other people think about faith-based films. And there was one video I clicked. Generally, it's very mixed about what people think about these movies, okay, and these TV shows. And everybody is subject to their opinion, okay? No one is forcing anybody to watch these movies. But there was one I clicked on and watched, and I could tell that this guy probably grew up in the church. So I'm not going to say that this person is evil or whatnot, but I am going to clarify some things that he didn't really tell the truth. I think he was just going by what he saw. Okay? I have no hate for this man, and I'm not even going to mention who it is, okay? But there were some mistruths or partial truths that he was saying. And of course, it was based on his opinion, okay? And one of the things he said was that film should just be stuck to art. And he said a lot of the faith-based films is very preachy. And he pointed out the Kendrick brothers, for example, that the Kendrick brothers are not filmmakers. No, they are not filmmakers. They never said that they were filmmakers. They said that they are pastors. They are preachers. Okay? Now, I can understand criticisms on the technical side of things, but when it comes to these films, yeah, they can be preachy. But here's the thing. Doesn't the people who don't believe preach their messages through this medium? I mean, think about it. Think about some of the stuff that is being preached in film. I'm not talking faith-based. I'm talking about the general spectrum of film. And don't tell me that there's not bad stuff being preached and forced. Okay? I mean, think about, example, The Golden Compass. Film that came out about 10 years ago. And there was a lot of people kind of anxious to see it because it kind of fit into that Chronicles of Narnia and the Lord of the Rings type of look. Until they found out that the whole story is about promoting atheism. And then New Line Cinema, who was producing the film, tried to tone it down, and it bombed because people just didn't. It put a negative spot on the people to the movie-going audience. There's stuff being preached in every single film, whether it's good or it's bad. Some of it is in your face, but a lot of it is subjective. Give you an example. X-Men. What do you think is being preached in that? I mean, what is being preached in X-Men? Well, let me see. If you dig into a little bit of history about the X-Men, Stan Lee created the X-Men as a response to the Civil Rights Movement, which we're still fighting racism today. But in 1999, when the first X-Men came out, it wasn't such a hot topic to talk about racism. But what would you talk about? How about homosexuality? So if you pay attention to the X-Men. It's about homosexuality. Now, I'm not here to debate that, but I'm here to debate that there is stuff being preached. That's just one thing that was in this video. The other thing was he went after Pureflix Entertainment, talking about their films and how there's always in those films about non-believers, and the non-believers come across, like the atheist-like characters, they come across as the villain. Now, this is where partial truths are coming into play, is because are atheist people evil? No. Are all atheist people behaving like that? No. But a few do. There are a few that are out to destroy people of faith and say, you can't say this, you can't say that. I mean, that's in politics. That's in businesses. That's in schools. And yeah. So it's there. But like I said, I just had to say something about these films. Now, are they perfect films? Are they great films? No. I mean, well, and here's one more argument. It was over the money. And this person said that money's never the issue in these faith-based films, that they gross all this money. It's not so much that how much they gross as it is how much is given to them to make it. Okay? And there's a perfectly reason why. Because this person also brought up Martin Scorsese's film Silence. That it was, which did happen, it was based on a true story about these Catholic missionaries that were tortured for their faith. Now, and he points out how it's beautifully made. He said that's the way to do a faith-based film. Well, let me bring up a film that Martin Scorsese also did, and it was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back on faith-based films, and why Hollywood is very, very reluctant to finance faith-based films. Look into The Last Temptation of Christ, which happened back in 1988, where there was rioting outside of Universal Pictures, outside movie theaters. Matter of fact, there was one story where there was a mob outside a movie theater showing the film. They bust through the movie theater, killing few people, going up to the projection booth and ripping the film out of the projector because the film was so blasphemous. The film was so blasphemous that it caused an uproar in the Christian community. And so it made Hollywood say, if that's what the Christians are going to do, then we're not going to make these movies or finance them. And when Mel Gibson made The Passion of the Christ, look at the ridicule that he received before he made the movie, or while the movie was in production. So, what am I saying? Are these films perfect? Absolutely not. But some are better than others. I personally think that the PureFlix entertainment movies are the better made of most of them. But it's up to you to decide what goes on your television set. I'm not forcing you to watch these. I'm just giving my opinion on what I feel. So, I encourage you to check these movies out, but that's entirely up to you. I'm not the one that's in charge of your TV set. So, that being said, rant over. So that being said, from me to you, see you later.